Hi everyone, Susie here from Minnesota, and I garden in a Zone 4, and I'm going to take you on a late September garden tour. I can't believe autumn is here. We have had lots of rain, some cooler nights, no freezing temps yet. Looks like the highs are going to get back up to close to 80, so we've been having a really nice September. That was due to me not watering enough, not the plant. It'll be okay. I was just hoping that the cooler nights and 70-degree weather was going to be a bit easier on these plants and less watering. Now, this is a really well drained area. This one took it the worst. I think it'll be good as long as the roots are good. It is late September, so things are, you can see lots of leaves on the ground. But I finally have a day where it's not quite so windy. The reason we kept having a cold front and then a heat wave and a cold front, and that wind was ferocious. This poor Arborvitaes, I hope it bounces back. I keep saying that, but I do feel bad. And that was me just not keeping up on the watering during a drought. I still have coleus in here that I'll be pulling out at some point. I have been working over here in this garden. I had pulled out the variegated hostas, and I went with pretty pistachio over here, Hoopra, along with sugar and spice tiarella. When I said lots of rain, I would say probably 8 inches since the beginning of September. I just moved Palace Purple Hoopra over here just for that pop of purple amongst the tiarella to maybe pull some of that. We'll see how I like it. It's my first time growing tiarella. And then I did plant an autumn frost hosta. Most of these plants are from Great Garden Plants online. And then back here, these are shrubs, and they are the Invincible Mini Mauvet. They only get about 2.5 feet tall and wide. And they can take part shade. We'll see. It's like, hopefully those work out there. And I just continue with the pretty pistachio over here. I'm thinking something down here at the corner, but I am just going to kind of curve this so it's not quite so pointy. Make it a little bit more softer looking. I do have a columbine coming down here, which looks like it's pushing out new foliage. Yeah, the day I was doing filming, you couldn't hear me just because the wind was that strong, so it was really horrible footage. I want to plant something probably in here. I'm just not sure. It'll probably be another hosta. I have turtle head over here blooming. Not quite as large as my other patch of turtle head, Chelone, but it's got competition from the tree roots, so I'm just happy it's still hanging on. The squirrels are crazy. They've definitely been busy, so hopefully that doesn't mean an early winter. I have some ferns planted amongst these hostas. Oh, I can't go by without seeing Curly Fry's hosta. And some of the leaves are yellowing on the and this is normal, not quite as bad as the other ones, the variegated ones that were going brown really quick in the season. over here is Spearmint Hoopra. If it comes across on camera, it's a little more bluer, silvery tinge. This fern might be a little close here. I have to rethink that. So I had dug up one of the hostas in that front garden. It was just a green one, and so I put it back here in this container. It's going to be a little crunchy with the leaves. And I'm not sure what this container is made out of, but it is extremely heavy. I would say it's probably close to 40 pounds on its own. And it's really thick, so I'm hoping that I'm a zone 4, so this may or may not work with this hosta coming back overwintering well in here. But because it's back by this part of the house, this side, it's kind of its own little microclimate. I'm hoping this works. If it doesn't, I'm out nothing, but at least if it does work, this will come back for me. Oh, the mosquitoes are out. One second. I know it's just plain green, but I'm just doing a little test. And not only that, I do like this hosta. Yes, it might be just plain green, but it's definitely a good grower. And it still looks good and didn't go brown right away, or yellow. And the Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus grows like a weed. I like it over here. Just, okay, it's right. It is trying to get my fingers. It's just an annual. At some point I'm going to have to be cleaning out my containers, especially before we get a freeze, because especially my terracotta pots are not frost-proof. They might be okay for a little bit, but I will have to clean them out and bring them in, which is going to be another little issue. I'm going to have to try and figure out where I'm going to go with all of them. Let's see, we'll go this way. My little friends are out, so they might be a little vocal. I'd gotten some more plants at the garden center. Some pulmonaria, I think it's shrimp on the Barbie. I do have other plants ordered, so I'm still waiting for them to come to see if I want to plant these here. Where they're sitting, I have alum root. It's just a native, and it's growing, we'll just say that, but it's okay. I don't think it's adding anything to that area. And this is more Spearmint Hoopra. This gets really wide, so I can't wait. I mean, you can definitely see how much growth it's putting out. Very happy with these. I will say I do struggle with Hoopra, so we'll see what happens. I will have to protect this azalea here. I've been keeping up on watering. I don't want it to drop any of its buds right now, because they are set, and hopefully I will get blooms next year if the rabbits don't get to it. So yes, I think I'm going to have to cage that. I haven't dealt with mosquitoes all year, and holy cow, they are out. Ajuga, just a ground cover. Alright, sorry if I'm slapping my forehead. I think, like I said, the squirrels have been crazy. Let me just put that there. Supposed to be 72 today, so absolutely beautiful. Sorry, I was hearing noises. Down here, these are the ferns that I had back here. They were looking horrible, so I decided to give them one more chance, and they look like a brand new plant. I can't believe it. They push out all of that new growth. They looked horrible. And they're doing really good. They're Godzilla. My garden centers around here do carry a lot of tender perennials, and this is one of them. So I'm going to have to protect that with some leaves. Any perennials I know are tender, I pile with a lot of leaves on. I moved some Solomon seal back here because I had a hunk that broke off when I was working in that garden. I just think it can arch over. Those sticks are going to be going. They're not going to stay there. I brought in some of my house plants. I don't think I'm going to keep any of those, but my sister wants some of them. I do struggle with the house plants. I think I just spend so much time outside during the summer. My biggest thing is I just forget to water them. I know that's not an excuse, but I killed a parlor palm of all plants. I am going to be bringing in the Thai Giant to overwinter. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that quite yet. I do have it in its own little container. I just know I'm not going to plant it here next year just because these leaves are rubbing against the swing in the tree. It was probably not a really good idea. And it got huge. But it still looks okay. These Boston ferns are growing like a weed. I love them. Over here, I know I'm going to have some changes. I've just not really liked this. It's okay, but I do want to create a path through here that goes underneath my arch. And it's mainly so I can get to the back of the garden without having to walk all around my gardens. And I just think a path would be really neat here. Just kind of break up the sea of green. There's a lot going on. And this shrub here, I keep forgetting to get that plant app to tell me what this is. I don't know, but it sends off these tiny little flowers. I think next year what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give it a really severe prune to see if it stays a little bit shorter. I did plant some more Hakana coal grass down here. I had these two little piddly ones, but I left them. See if they fill in a little bit more next year. But I do love this. This again is another tender perennial for me, which I will be protecting with lots of leaves. Just not until we get until the ground is frozen. I don't want to put leaves on when everything is still actively growing. I don't want them to rot. This container has seen better days. It keeps falling over in those high winds. I'm ready to retire some of my containers, but until I can get to the waste site, which is Wednesdays and Saturdays, I don't want things piling up. I just want to clean it up, haul it, and be done. I do have some stuff in another area where it is piling up. Because with my work schedule, I'm usually working those days, always. Look at the pulmonaria. Look how nice that looks. Just an easy, no-fuss plant. And beautiful. The Persicaria Painter's Palette here is blooming. If you can see it, there are these dainty red little blooms. And the bees and the wasps love this, so I do have to be careful, but I really like that. I know it looks a little like a bad hair day, but I think it's so neat. And again, it does spread, it does self-seed, so be careful. I'm a zone 4, so if it does this with me, it could be worse in other areas. I keep saying zone 4, but our winters are quite brutal. And I have some back here too. But I love that it's offering a little bit of color here later in the season for that autumn color. I have a little area here where I think I'm going to plant the ajuga that I have in my fall container grouping. I just think that purple will contrast really nicely with the hosta here, and also look really good with the Persicaria. This is the turtle head chelone that looks amazing, and it just keeps spreading, and I keep allowing it. I only got it in a gallon container, and it has spread this much, and I would say at least 7 to 8 years, if not longer. Oh, it would be longer than that. And it's going to the back, and that's okay. I don't know what this is. I didn't plant it, so if anybody can let me know, I'm sure it's a weed. But I kind of like it, and so do the pollinators. I like how it sways in the wind. As long as it doesn't overtake the chelone, I'm okay with it being there. This coleus planter keeps falling over too. Those winds were a bit much. But down here, I did have the coleus planter. It's kind of hard to see now. It's in bright sun. But I planted 2 of those ajugas. They're the Feathered Friends Fierce Falcon. That's part of the Feathered Friends line. I think that's going to look really good down here when it can just spread. I have a lot of tree roots, the shoots coming up all over. I figure ground cover is the best way to go here. And this Cebarius Orbifolia, I like the texture of those glossy, thicker leaves with the finer. But in spring, it emerges pink and chartreuse. So I think that'll be an amazing color combination, at least in my eyes. We'll go over here real quick. I know this is getting pushed forward because of the coleus planter, but it's still loaded in blossoms. This is Falling in Love Sweetly Anemone. I know people cringe when I say anemone. This hasn't gotten much bigger than this since I've planted it, and I wish it would because I think it's beautiful and I would put it in other places in my garden. I know I can split it, but I think anemones are a little touchy that way. I could be wrong, but I love it. Absolutely love it, especially for that late color when everything else is just, I'm not going to say given up, but just green. My goat spirit over here looks really good. The rabbits have not bothered that. Very happy. I just wanted to show you some of my containers too. The Tradescantia is such a vigorous grower. I have to take cuttings of that soon. So easy to propagate. The impatient here got a bit leggy and yellow. I'm thinking we had so much rain. I'm just, I'm not even sure, but still hanging on. I had some coleus that broke off. Probably should clean up the mess. They still look good. You can just tell what is the quickest and aggressive grower. This one too, I've just been trimming up my creeping Jenny so it doesn't root here. This is the double impatient here that has not given up on me. But, I forget, was it the Proven Winners, Rockapolco? I forget. It's beautiful. I think on its own, I just think there's too many aggressive growing plants in there for that to compete with. But it would have been nice to have some color in there. Autumn Joy Sedum always does this. We were even dry, but my sun situation always at this time is more part sun. But you know what? That's fine. These heads are still glorious. Most of the time I'm not just standing over here looking straight down in the crown of it, so I'm not too concerned about the way it looks. And those pollinators just go crazy for the sedum. I'm still debating what I want to achieve in this garden. I think there's going to be changes next year happening. I have a campanula here. It's bushing out really nicely. I can't wait to see that bloom next year. 1 second. Kind of shifty. Do I feel like there's a piece of hair somewhere? Yes, my hair. Sorry about that. And I do have a Hearty Geranium that will get really big, so that might not be the best spot. And down here is another Feathered Friends Fancy Finch. So I love this coloring too. It's just a ground cover, and I don't think this is a proper spot for it. Sometimes I just plant things as a holding spot until I can figure it out the following year, or see how well things do. I could extend this like, and I might. This sweet potato vine Medusa is huge. I can't believe that. Love it. Yeah, that is beautiful too. My roses are sending out these new shoots, which is crazy. They've been blooming nonstop also, and they're supposed to, but I'm very surprised. That rain has really made things get their second wind again. We're going to go to the back real quick here. This Morning Glory vine, I think it's Grandpa Ott. I didn't plant this. It's just, this always self-seeds. It's very invasive, but I can't help it because it's just so beautiful. So I'll keep pulling it where I don't want it. Yeah, this is when I don't want things to get too much. Some of my zinnias broke off with all that rain. I cleared the Joe Pye weed back here. It just split in the middle. I was really bad about watering these. Yeah, it was one of those seasons, so I feel horrible. It's all on me. So we'll see what happens. Those are North Pole Arborvitaes. At some point, I might just get rid of these fences. I have some broken pieces, but I've had them for, I would say, 15 years. This one looks a bit better. Yeah, the Joe Pye was growing everywhere except where I wanted it. This is, I'm just kind of showing you some of the, not horrible because it is late in the season. So at some point I won't have any of this. But it's kind of splitting there. I just think the no rain for so long had made things so weak. So when we did get the rain, they just didn't know how to cope with all that weight on top. Look at this grass. I think this is the most beautiful grass I've ever... I'm addicted to grass because I can't plant a lot because I don't have many full sun areas. This is a Korean featherweight grass. Oh. This is also tender perennial. I will be protecting this also. I can see this from my kitchen room and dining room. I just kind of laughed because I can see my little beagle staring at me. It's just so sweet. He's waiting for his walk. So I went and bought 2 more. I just have to make sure that I have enough soil. I can kind of see I need to have a little more soil there. These hostas I had gotten from Walmart when I first started gardening, and they always look like this. I think I'm done with them. They look the most tattered out of all of them. Like, what is up with that? I would say these... I'm sure I'm having slug damage now, but wow. I did have a family member, I didn't hear it, but they said we did get hail with the storm. But they don't all look like that. I have an Annabelle Hydrangea. I know it'll like this area because it gets a lot of morning sun and then some afternoon sun, so it should tolerate that a little bit. Not a whole lot of afternoon. And then dappled, but I cleared out the Philippendula. It was just... didn't do much for me, and if it wouldn't have been blooming in other areas of my town, I would have said, I would have left it, but they were in full sun locations, so it was just, again, I did love the plant, but I don't know, sometimes it's nice to try new things, which I can't wait. So I will be trying to make a path in there somehow. I will see if I can set up a camera and just work. It's just going to be wood chips. I'm going to keep it simple, nothing too major. I like a lot of my gardens to look as natural as possible. I was going to do it today, which would have been a perfect day for filming and working in the garden. But I've got a really bad toothache going on. And I'm being seen, so don't worry about it. It's just, I don't want to be lifting bags of mulch and digging. Which, I'm feeling sorry for myself because what a beautiful day to work in the garden. Stupid tooth. Here, I don't know how I feel about these dahlias. Yeah, they're producing buds and whatnot, but they're so tiny. My sister likes it. But she always likes things that I don't like. We're kind of opposite. She's not big on gardening, but I mean, it is loaded, and it's definitely not a stable variety but I don't know the variety, because I think the one I had planted should have been more of a peach color, pinkish, which is not it. you can see in here, I'm just going to show you, I have lots of new growth on the daylilies that, this is a holding bed. And then I had a bloom that came up. Isn't that crazy? And then a grass here that I moved from another area that I'm babying and see if I can get to come back for next year. I love the Cleome. I didn't plant any of this this year. It's self-seeded from last year and it's just offering color right now when everything else is petering out. And this is a quick fire fab. I just planted this in a video and I can't wait to see this get big. I'm just to add some structure over here. It is a little closed in feeling because the grasses got pushed because of rain and with the Cleome and the zinnias are pushed forward. So once that kind of gets cleaned out, there's a lot more room back here. And then this great big planter, but I'm leaving it because I still think it looks pretty decent. These salvias here, this Texas sage, just keeps putting out blooms. My foxglove are blooming again. I love it. Some are bent over from the rain. This is the pixie tufted fountain hairgrass. That looks really good over here. I got rid of all of my low-growing sedums, and I just went with, I think this is Persian Blue Nepeta, just to create a big drift here. I think it'll just soften this area. I liked the sedum, it just didn't like where I had it in the garden. And I moved Italian Ice Oso Easy Rose over here so it can form a little hedge. I think right now they're getting super tall because they're stretching, but they're putting out blooms, so I just let them do what they want. I could control its size. Oops. I don't want to step too much in this garden because it's very wet. Look at that. The grasses are pretty. That rain didn't do them any good. I've got them tied up. I just need to get that one a little bit better. It's more towards the back. It just cuts my skin. So I have to wear a long sleeve shirt. So it's not bad now. Alliums are starting to lose their color. I just think those little seed heads will be pretty even when they go over. Once the snow comes, they won't be standing up. And the thing about my gardens is I don't cut much down. Most of this stays standing throughout the entire season, winter. Some of this is native, and it's food for the birds, kind of a home for insects. And if we don't get a lot of snow right away, it still offers some sort of beauty for those bleak winter months that I'm not looking forward to. Better get a move on. I feel like this tour is going to get too long. Can you believe I gave my columbine a haircut and it's blooming again? Isn't that crazy? Is that normal for columbine to do that? I saved the seeds of that. Look at the foxglove there. It might be a little shorter, but very happy. Extremely happy. And just, it's kind of hard to have color this late in the season, and it's doing it for me. This Hearty Geranium is definitely getting really big. I'm happy. This one's not struggling. It still looks okay, but not as vigorous as the others. But I had to move a dianthus to here. It's a little yellower from the others. I'm just going to show you that way so it looks like a diamond and not a box. But even that one could be moved a little bit. But next year too, I can probably move some things. So I might not leave it here. I planted this Gara, it was in a container of mine, into the ground here. The plant, not the pot. It is not a perennial in my zone. I think it's zone 5 and up, so it is tender. I'm going to see if I can get it to come back. It probably won't stay here, but for the time being, I had a spot. So yes, it's a bit weedy here. It's okay. yeah, so look, more of the columbine blooms. I think the slugs really like these plants. Oh, this one looks really good over here. So my garden center is going to start having sales. I'll probably be buying more plants because that's what I like to do at this time. But this is a grass that I bought, and this is Deschampsia, not the smaller one. So we'll see. Oh, I do have the tag. Oh, I surprised myself. There we go. So, isn't that pretty? Like I said, I love grasses. If I could, I would have a grass garden. Sweet peas. The one thing I will say, they are going over, but the one that I'm super impressed with for just hanging on there is the Beaujolais. Just keeps giving me color, and right now it's pretty much the only one that's giving me color. And over here too. So something's eating my roses. I'm gonna say Japanese beetles, but I can't find them. But this late in the season, I'm not really caring too much. See, right here, this is where they look the best. I love it. My zinnias, I keep staking that one out, it keeps pushing forward. This Mahogany Splendor Hibiscus got a bit tall. I'd say it's got to be pushing 15 to 20 feet tall. Yeah, most of the stuff is going to have to be taken to the waste center, so it's going to be lots of trips. I always hate the cleanup. I hate the cleanup. The David Phlox here is putting out some more blooms, so I should have been a bit better about deadheading it. Probably would have gotten a better flush of blooms. Double red, oh so easy rose. Let me see. Sometimes those beetles are sitting right in the... No, that's good. The honey bells is still looking really good, blooming. I just haven't seen any hummingbirds. And the dahlias, I'm not going to overwinter them. I'm not even sure if I'm going to plant any next year. They're just very finicky, and they are worth it, but if that's all I had to focus on, then yes, but there's easier stuff to plant than that. I think they like my raised garden beds better than going directly into my ground. Look, this black-eyed Susan vine. I keep fertilizing the black-eyed Susans. Everything else I'm not. They're still giving a nice little show here and growing all over my lilac. That is going to be fun to clean out. So yeah, so I was going to do that project because I have just cheap. That's not the mulch that I go with for all my other beds, but for a path, I'm completely fine with that. I'm just keeping things watered so the foliage doesn't brown up, so it still has some green to look at. Like I said, the salvia here just keeps on trucking along. I love it. And it honestly tolerates a part sun situation too, so there's that. I keep going by the hydrangeas. I think it's because these containers are so big. So note to self, smaller plants in these containers so the hydrangeas can shine. But look at the color on this little Limelight Hydrangea. Absolutely love it. This one. Again, I might cut some of these flower heads or the spent when they dry up for some container arrangements. Winter, maybe. I always say that, but I do love how they add structure to the garden in the wintertime too. Lots. As long as the snow, like a heavy snow, doesn't bend them over, and that can happen more often than not in my zone. Got a little blurry there. This hydrangea, I want to say this is vanilla strawberry, I think, but this is probably the best grower out of all of them. I mean, look at that. I'm in a shady situation right now, and it's only noon. And that's just, look at the sun, or not the sun, Black-Eyed Susan vine, and just swoops right up into here. And down there. So yeah, my sun is more over this way than over here. When it comes around, I might turn this one into a standard. It's very upright. That is really pretty. I just don't know which ones these are. Very happy I got blooms. The Limelight Prime back here is doing really good. This one hasn't drooped at all this season. But this has, the Hardy Hibiscus. Every time, not lately, but for a little while there, every time I came out, the leaves were drooping. It was loaded the other day, but again, it was just so windy. I have a hard time getting this to come back for me. It is hardy in my zone, but we'll see if that, I hope it comes back. That'll just be magnificent. I had moved some of my topiary coleuses in here. If you can see, I just placed them in these terracotta pots for the time being. And I think it adds that nice kind of fall color. Along with my fall container I did in here. I did a video on it. I'm loving it a lot. My sister loves it. Like I said, she's not huge into gardening, but the simplicity of it is what really made her. And she also loves kind of your daisy flowers, daisy shapes, so she's really liking this. And then she picked up some more pumpkins. I do have a viola. I still have it, and I gave it a haircut. But, I mean, if this could flush out a little bit more before a hard freeze, it'll look really good with this area. And this is an ajuga, and it's just gorgeous. Great garden plants online, and I got this huge clump. It's amazing. Yep, another one. It might look stupid, but from afar you can't see it. So yeah, I do like that a lot. And this over here, this is just Limelight, and this is the one that's been drooping a little bit more on me. I'm sure because all the competition from the grass too, sucking up all the rain and moisture, but it looks really good, doesn't it? Like, wow. I can't wait to see that get big. And yeah, I think that'll be a perfect spot for that mum over there, because that is hardy to my zone, actually to a 3. Here, I'll show you the tag. I wasn't going to get it because I didn't want to spend any money on fall annuals and put a lot of money into plants that may only last, what, maybe a month? But this is Mammoth Yellow Quill. And look at that. So happy. So yeah, I'm thinking, you know, that would look good down in here, and probably this grass over here somewhere too. I know this will get bigger, but I can always move things later. I am really liking this. And what really inspired me to create a fall container is the fact that my sister went and she got a pumpkin. And we had a little joke going on. I said no pumpkins until October 1st. And so she got this little one, and she just kind of hid it, but just enough so I could see just a little bit of it. So I'm like, you know, I'm kind of ready for fall. So it's cute. So I'm like, yeah, I'll go do that. If you know me and you know I don't like fall, I hate winter, but I'm not a fall person just because I know it's around the corner. And if we would ever get and so far we've been having a really nice fall, so I can't complain. But I'm not lucky to get a long one. It's just, last year, I remember taking cuttings when it was so cold. And also I was mowing when it was snowing. Mowing and mulching. That's what I do with my leaves. Can you believe it's only noon and it's this dark back here? This is why my garden looks, and it still looks good. So for the lack of sun, I think it's hanging on pretty good. But thank you again for joining me on this tour, and bye for now.